Faces of Philanthropy is a series highlighting young philanthropists of color who give back and who do amazing work in their communities. Our goal is to debunk the stigma that you have to be of a certain social status to be a philanthropist, but you truly just have to have a heart for others. This is Faces of Philanthropy. Welcome to Faces of Philanthropy. So excited tonight to have the Miss CocoaPreneur of Pittsburgh here with us, Miss Khamil Scantling.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, thanks for being here. So Faces of Philanthropy is a mini-series where we really just try to introduce the community to philanthropists of color, so people who look like me and you, who are doing great things in the communities, but who society might say, oh, those aren't philanthropists. They don't look like philanthropists. And so we're really trying to break the stigma of what philanthropy is and what it looks like. So I'm bringing in the top of the line philanthropists in our community to really just have you guys share your stories, talk about what philanthropy means to you and how you give back. So do you want to start by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your work?
Yeah, I am Khamil Scantling. I am from New Jersey, but I have been in Pittsburgh for about the past 12 years. My platform is CocoaPreneur PGH, and I highlight Black businesses in the city of Pittsburgh, the greater Pittsburgh area in general. I pretty much started it out of an apparent need, and what I saw was a hole that needed to be filled for Black businesses in the city. Not being from here, I couldn't readily identify, a Black mechanic or a Black. Salons and restaurants are kind of easy, but there's so many Black businesses in Pittsburgh that people just don't see or know about that need to shine. So that's where that started.
And so what does, I'm going to ask you this question and ask you a follow-up about CocoaPreneur specifically, but what does philanthropy mean to you?
Well, for me, and it's funny because I think that, and we've kind of discussed this before at your events, but a lot of people will attribute philanthropy to people with money giving their money. I have always attributed philanthropy to giving of time. Like, it's always kind of looked like this for me. And I've always thought of people who give money as just money givers, and it means nothing. Like, that has always been a thing for me. And that might be, why I see philanthropy the way I see it. Growing up, my mom and her friends started an organization to mentor young women called Sisters for Sisters. And I was a part of that organization. It really catered to girls who didn't necessarily have that influence at home, but I naturally fell in, And seeing them and the work that they did and the love that they gave to the girls, it was just like, it was clear to me that this was a necessary part of life. Like, this is something that you just do. I've always felt the need to give of myself. I can't just be. You know what I mean? I have to contribute to where I am and make a positive impact, or what I feel is a positive impact on where I am. And that I think it's just fulfilling.
Yes,
so,
definitely. Yeah, and so my follow-up is, when people hear about CocoaPreneur, they might be like, oh, that's not philanthropy. Like, she's not giving money to these businesses. She's not doing X, Y, and Z. What's your argument for that? Because I'm team CocoaPreneur. I'm like, this is absolutely philanthropy.
I may not give tangible checks and dollars. Well, I do give dollars because I patronize these businesses as well. But I am spreading the word about the businesses and helping them be more profitable, giving suggestions, feedback. If I see that there's an area where a business is getting maybe some negative press, kind of speaking to the owner and saying, hey, you might be able to do this to kind of change this perception that you have. And it's a bit of a consulting gig, but it does help them be more profitable. Like, it's not money in the form of me passing a check, but it's an overall kind of image thing and, helping people be more connected to the communities they're in. All this stuff is kind of cyclical. So it's not necessarily the money. And on top of that, I definitely have these things in motion for giving small business grants.
Nice.
And contributing also to some of the younger entrepreneurs, the people coming out of high school and, you know, might not necessarily see college as the best path for them.
Right.
You know, they may just need a little bit of capital or a little bit of push, something to buy supplies, just those things. So CocoaPreneur may be giving checks at some point soon in the future. But yeah.
Nice. And I think, like, as you were speaking, just the representation of there are Black businesses, thriving Black businesses here in Pittsburgh and just all over in our communities that people might not know about, or we might not be able to easily access them. But having you as a resource, for me personally, has been a huge benefit for the business and for me just as an individual, you know, knowing that, okay, I can hit up CocoaPreneur to find a chef or a housekeeper or whatever it may be, you know. So nice. And then, and you spoke to this a little bit earlier about, you know, your mom kind of influencing your values to give back. And it's something that we definitely hear a lot when we have these conversations. And this idea almost of collective responsibility, like it's our duty to give back. So talk a little bit about that, you know, just what are your thoughts on Black giving, basically?
It almost seems that it's natural for us. And it's so weird because it's almost like the people who tend to have less give more. It's so odd. Like people who know what it feels like to go without are the first ones to give, you know? So I think that because in a bunch of different arenas, we've been deprived of certain things. So we tend to overcompensate and give out those things freely. You know, so I think that it is just a part of African American culture in particular, to just kind of be really community oriented. We have to depend on ourselves because at sometimes we are all we have. So it's important for, you know, people at the barber shop to be able to go and buy food from the little restaurant next door, and the restaurant next door to be able but you know, go buy maybe their water from Sabio bottled water company. Just like those things should be, and we're bartering people too, you know, like corporate America isn't going to necessarily push a barter system, but we barter. You know, we will barter for services and goods, and I think that also it lends itself to like that village mentality, which I love, like love it to death. But yeah. So
could you speak a little bit about, you know, why you feel that it's important to have this, or to identify specifically as a philanthropist? Because I know for me, it was a process of like, you know, I give back in a number of ways, you know, my story like growing up, but now it didn't click to me until I was like a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, that, oh no, we're doing very philanthropic work. And I think that it's important for young people of color, but young people in particular, to be in those spaces because we're so often left out of the equation of, you know, rising philanthropists or emerging philanthropists. So could you talk a little bit about, you know, just, does that matter?
And it's so funny because I feel like young people have so much to give, but philanthropy, what's the definition of philanthropy?
So really it's the love of mankind. Look up in Webster, the love of mankind.
And I'm asking specifically because anything that you're giving to from the heart, anything that's like an emotional connection to, is philanthropy to me. Going to a library and reading to kids is philanthropy in my opinion, you know what I mean? So I think that, you know, leaving the money aside, all those things that come from just a good, wholesome place, those things are philanthropy.
Absolutely.
You know.
Cool. Is there anything else that you want to share? A CocoaPreneur or? How can people get involved too with your work?
Okay, so you can always donate to CocoaPreneur, but once services are available to people, I really need people to understand the value of the services that CocoaPreneur is going to provide. For consumers, there are no fees, but for my businesses, I also need them to understand that investing in your business is going to be better for you, and to really understand the benefit of having CocoaPreneur be the liaison between you and the community and between businesses, amongst businesses. What I want CocoaPreneur to be is more of almost like a router, if you would. You know what I mean? Everything to funnel through CocoaPreneur. So if businesses need resources for loans and grants, come through CocoaPreneur and I'll route you that way. If consumers need to find specific Black businesses, then come through CocoaPreneur and I'll route you that way, you know. So I really want CocoaPreneur to be like a centralized bank of information, working with the CDCs and the other organizations around the city, around Western Pennsylvania in general. And I want it to be kind of that hub.
Yeah.
You know, it gets difficult when you're looking for things as, you know, someone starting anything, a for-profit or nonprofit business. And CocoaPreneur does service nonprofits because they are businesses, you know.
Yes.
But it gets difficult when you're looking through a bunch of different channels for your information. If you can go to one-stop shop, then I'm sure that it would help a lot of people out. I've been there, so.
The Google for us.
Listen, oh my goodness. If CocoaPreneur could be the
said it here
Google for
first.
Oh, you sure
We
did.
said it on
Okay,
Facebook
and we have it on
Philanthropy
camera, so y'all keep that. You know, we're gonna save this video. But that's my hope for CocoaPreneur.
Nice.
If you guys want to find me, currently, all social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The website, CocoaPreneur.com, that's CocoaPreneur.com, will be the place where you find all information and all things Black business. The directory will be there. So, you know, stop by as many times as you like. It's going to be like the Black Yelp, but much nicer to look at. But yeah, that's CocoaPreneur, and, you know, that's my little philanthropic baby.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you, Khamil.
Thank
you for coming on the show, and thank you for your services through.
I appreciate
through
that.
They are so needed.
I'm Khamil Scantling, and I am a mother, I am a friend, I am a lover of our people, and I am a philanthropist.